We are recording the interview of Terry Bogan. This interview is being conducted by David Barry from the Wright State University Veteran Voices Project. This interview is being recorded at Wright State University New Media Incubator in Dayton, Ohio. It is 11 a.m. on February 13th, 2007. Where and when were you born?
I was born in near Waynesville, Ohio, June 21st, 1945.
And then, who were your parents and what were their occupation?
My dad, when I was born, worked at NCR Corporation. Before then, he was a farmer. In fact, some of my brothers were born on the farm by a country doctor who traveled the roads, visited at their houses. So I think I was born at the house also by a country doctor. Pretty sure. He might have been down milking cows when I was born. I don't remember.
What kind of things did your father farm?
He had sweet corn, tomatoes, green beans, any vegetable you can think of. And he'd have a little stand on the corner where we sell in the summer and use that money to go on vacation with. That we sold the fruits and vegetables.
Did you have any siblings, and if so, did they join the
military?
military?
Three brothers, and I had one brother join the Navy. He's a year and a half younger than me. Another brother who was about 7 or 8 years younger than me joined the Air Force. He was stationed in Italy and stayed 4 years, came home. He is deceased right now. My other brother who joined the Navy's in Florida, in Naples, Florida. So it was three of us in the service at the same time during the Vietnam War.
Oh, wow. What did your brothers do in the service?
Boy, I don't really know. We were on at the same time.
Oh, that's okay. What were you doing before you enlisted?
I was working at Delco Marine Division of General Motors. I got the job there in '63 when I got out of high school. Worked there almost 2 years when Vietnam started building up, so I enlisted in the Army, which I didn't think I'd ever do. Being in high school, I thought about not joining the military all the time. But then when I got out of school and started working and Vietnam built up, I decided to enlist. I remember my mother would drop me off at the airport in Cincinnati crying her eyes out.
So, and you said you enlisted, you weren't drafted?
No, I wasn't drafted. I never got a draft notice. I'm sure I would have. 20 years old, in '65, I'm sure I would have been drafted.
So why did you choose the Army instead of the Air Force or Navy or Marines?
Well, the Army had something I wanted to do. It's called the Army Security Agency. And we were a branch of the Army that dealt with military intelligence. And we had a top secret security clearance. I know when I came home from basic training, my parents were asking me, who are these people asking our neighbors all these questions about you? I said, I don't know. So I couldn't tell them anything about what I did in the service. So I don't know what they're asking questions about me, no idea.
And why did you choose military intelligence? Why was that an interest of yours?
Because I qualified for it on the test scores. They took the top 10% into this agency, and I qualified and asked me if I wanted to do it, and I said, of course. So I'm never sorry I did it.
What happened when you departed for training camp during your early days of training?
Like in basic training?
Yep.
It was some of the roughest training I've ever had in my life. I was 20 years old, and they're training you to be fighters in Vietnam, and they weren't exactly nice to you. They put you through hell, if I may say that. It was tough. And when you got out of the basic training, you were killers. That's what you were. They trained you to be that. And I know my parents could see a difference when I got home. But fortunately, I wasn't going there. When I left basic training, I came home on leave. I was assigned to Fort Devens, Massachusetts, which is the Army Security Agency Training Center for the different MOSs, which is what you do in the service. And my MOS at the time was 05H20, which was Morse Intercept. So I trained for 22 weeks learning Morse code and intercepting Morse code. So I was prepared to go overseas when I went.
Was it a shock for you in basic to be trained on combat when you joined for intelligence?
Yeah, but you had to do it. There was no question about not doing it. You had to do it. So if you'd flunked out of the advanced training in Fort Devens, Mass, you might have went to infantry. So they trained you for that also.
Do you recall any of your instructors?
No, I sure don't. It's been too long ago because I was in that training in 65 and 66. It's too many years ago to remember the instructors.
How was adapting to the physicalness and just the PT schedule?
Difficult, very difficult. Some of the things you had to do for the physical training and basic training was hard to do, like the parallel bars. You know, I couldn't hardly do those. I did them all the time trying to get better at it, but it's hard to do. Pull yourself across the bars, you know. The worst thing about basic training, I think, was the infiltration course, where you're crawling under barbed wire, and they're shooting at night, and they're shooting live tracer rounds over your head, and you have explosions going all around you. That was difficult.
Oh, yeah.
Wasn't fun.
You said that you received specialty training in Morse code. Did you receive any other specialty training?
No, that's what I did the whole time I was in the service, was Morse intercept. And our Morse intercept, the overseas stations I was at the 7th Radio Research Field Station in northeastern Thailand, about 30 miles from Vientiane, Laos. We were intercepting communications from China and North Vietnam. And we were sending it back to Arlington, Virginia, where NSA was, and they would, you know, send it on to the field for troop movements and stuff. So we had linguists at our bases who we'd have the people who cracked the code, the Morse code, that we copied down, and they would transfer it to the linguists. They would translate it into their language. And so we had all kind of people there at our bases. So the first base I was at when I left Fort Devens, Mass, was Udon, Thailand. It's a tent city. We had about 30 tents we stayed in, and we had vans we worked out of. And we had all these different MOSs with us, you know, the linguists, the code breakers, and the NASA. We each had a NASA rep too there, NSA rep there also. And the duty station there was 11 months, 15 days. That's how long our duty was at that base. When I left there, they had built a resort area almost, with barracks, air-conditioned barracks, theaters, snack bars, everything. So in '76, they closed that base when we got kicked out of Thailand because the Vietnam War was over. The country kicked us out. So the base became theirs. But I wasn't fortunate enough to have all that.
How was it adapting to military life?
Difficult at times, especially when you got 2 years in. You know, if you'd been drafted, 2 years, you'd been out. But it helped getting to know a lot of people. In Taiwan especially, the second duty station I was at was Taipei, Taiwan. And that was a pretty nice base. We were stationed on Air Force Base. And the Air Force Base was really nice. The mess hall was the best in the Air Force. So we're not used to that.
Oh, yeah.
And plus we had recreational leagues, basketball, fast pitch softball. It was like being anywhere, you know. It was a nice duty. Tried to get me to re-enlist there, but I didn't want to.
And then you said that you served overseas in Thailand. Did you serve anywhere else overseas?
Yeah, Taipei, Taiwan for 15 months.
So Taiwan and Thailand?
Mm-hmm. Taipei, Taiwan was the 76th United States Army Security Agency Special Operations Unit assigned to an Air Force base. On that Air Force base, we had Air Force Security Service, which did the same thing I did. Naval Security Group did the same thing I did. We worked together in a bay, all of us, doing the same thing. So every base was like that. We'd have combined services working in the same bay.
Was that difficult to work with the different?
No, it wasn't at all. We all had a common purpose. We had to search the frequencies on the radios and find some traffic and copy it, and then transfer it on.
Do you have any specific memories or experiences on your overseas experience or deployments?
Getting there was one thing. I don't know if you ever heard of the embassy flight or not. It was a big U.S. Air Force, like a commercial jet, except it wasn't commercial. The seats would face backwards, be no windows in it. It's called the embassy flight. We flew out of California to Hawaii at Hickam Air Force Base, spent the night, and then we flew to the Philippines, spent the night. Then we flew to Saigon, supposed to take on passengers, leave off passengers. We had 2 flat tires, got hit the runway, so we had to get off the plane, everybody, and spend about 5 hours at the airport. Mm-hmm. And then we got back on the plane, went to Bangkok, and my order said, I was stationed in Bangkok, right? I get there, they said, don't unpack your bags, you're going up north to Tent City. So I spent the night there, and they said, go downtown, catch a ride up to Tent City. They told me where to go, Air America. I had no idea back then Air America was CIA. Remember the movie Air America?
No, I don't think I saw
it was
that
CIA.
one. Oh, okay.
And that's what they did. The little 8-seater, I hitched a ride up there, got to the base, I got to the Air Force Base, and by Jeep I went to my base. And I was filling sandbags for a while, till they got me situated.
Was that pretty safe traveling then?
Yeah, it was. Didn't have any problems.
Did you witness any combat or?
Not per se. I mean, one time in Tent City, where I was stationed in northeastern Thailand, they were saying there was gunfire in the antenna fields, but I never saw anything. I know we had a medic that was assigned to our base, and they called for him. They said, we need all the medical personnel you have. We just got our butts kicked in Cambodia. So he had to leave and go to Cambodia. So that's close as I think we got to combat. We were not having weapons ourselves in Thailand. We were guarded by Thai guards, and it might have been a couple MPs on our base, but we did have weapons in our vans. We just didn't advertise it.
Did your duties change when you went overseas?
No.
So both in Taiwan and Thailand?
Yeah, I did the same thing. I was a senior intercept operator. So it was good duty. You got used to headphones and listen to dit-da-dits and all day or all night. Sometimes you work days, seconds, or mids, you know. So one interesting thing about Udor and sleeping in the tents was the Air Force Base, the United States Royal Thai Air Force Base was 10 miles from our tent. And when they flew their 100th mission over the north, they came in over our tents real low in the F-4C Phantom jets and come over real low and turn their afterburners off and go straight up. If you're working mids and you're trying to sleep and your tents are shaking, makes it impossible. And our captain of our base go down there and raise Cain with the Air Force people about it. These guys are colonels and majors flying these jets. They don't care. So it was kind of funny.
What were the difference in duties in between? You said that you were a senior.
Intercept op?
Yeah. What's the difference between a senior
Seniority.
intercept op?
Just being on the job for longer.
Just getting to delegate more work.
Yeah, and more rank.
You said that your medics got pulled away to help some casualties.
In Cambodia, yeah.
Did you ever witness any casualties?
No, never did. Like I said, we were 30 miles from Laos, and I don't really know how far we were from Cambodia. Never went there. I went to the river, the Mekong River, where Laos is across the river, but I never crossed over it. We weren't allowed to.
How did that make you feel when your medics and your staff were kind of being pulled to go help out in other areas?
Didn't really think about it because we had too much to do. We were shorthanded, and we worked sometimes 12-hour shifts and slept and didn't get much time for anything else. So we really didn't think anything about it.
Did you have any time for any recreation while you were there?
I did get a 3-day pass one time, and 2 or 3 of us went to Bangkok. We took a Lao Lao taxi, which is like an old Mercedes, from Udorn down to Bangkok. It was worth it to get away from the tents and sleep in a hotel in Bangkok. It was nice. And I think Bob Hope came nearby us, but I wasn't lucky enough to go. I had to work. We were working 12-12, so people could go. So I didn't go. I stayed in the vans and worked. Gave them my camera. They took me lots of pictures.
Did you have much interaction with the local population?
Not a lot. Like I said, you're working a lot. You don't have a whole lot of time. Once in a while you get off base and go grab a beer or something at a local bar, but didn't have a lot of time.
Was it difficult for you being away from the States and your family and in a different part of the world?
It was at first, but by the second tour, it was nothing. You know, I know at Christmas time, I got there in August of '66 to Thailand, and Christmas, my mother sent me a decorated little Christmas tree, which was popular in the tents. Everybody come around and take pictures with it. And I got care packages from neighbors and stuff, which was nice. But it was difficult at times, that first Christmas. And I did spend 3 consecutive Christmas and New Year's in the Far East. So after the third one, nothing to it.
How did you stay in touch with your family back home?
Letter. Didn't have phones, didn't have Mars station when I was there. Later on, the base had Mars stations they could call, but you had to write letters.
Now, what were kind of some of the things they'd send you in your care packages?
Gosh, I imagine the usual candy bars and cookies and stuff like that, which is always nice to get. Because the first thing I wanted when I got home from Thailand was a Frisch's Big Boy. When they picked me up at the airport in Cincinnati, we stopped in Mason and got Frisch's.
Yeah, I think it was a Waffle House for me.
Was it?
Yeah.
I know that we had no snack facilities on our base. If you wanted something, you had to go 10 miles to the Air Force Base to their snack bar and bring it back or eat it there. And we did that a little bit. So the tents didn't have much luxury.
Where were you when the war ended?
What year was that? 70, 74, 76, 70. Working at Delco Marine Division, General Motors. Went back to work there. When I enlisted, I was working there. My seniority went on while I was gone, and they helped my job for me, and went back to it. So I retired there after 35 years.
How did you return home?
Flew to Fort Lewis, Washington. And I know we were standing in line to be processed in uniform, and I know the sergeant came up to me and says, "You guys are Spec 5s, get to the front of the line." Who knew? We've been overseas.
What's a Spec 5?
Specialist 5th class.
Okay.
That was a rank that we had in our units. Army basic, like infantry would be staff sergeant, but in our MOS it was specialist 4th class, specialist 5th class.
No. So instead of like E5, it would be
We're
like
E5.
S5?
We're E5, but we're called specialist 5th class.
Oh, okay. How were you received by your family and community upon returning home?
Pretty much the only ones that cared was family. You know, everybody was nice to me, but with no cameras to airports. That's what's so nice about Honor Flight now. You get to welcome home now you didn't get then. Because we got the airport for Honor Flight. Like I said, I took the Honor Flight in September of last year, and out of Dayton International Airport, and we got back to the airport at 10 o'clock at night. There were probably 1,000 people at Dayton International Airport to welcome us home. Bands playing, people cheering. It's unbelievable.
So can you tell me a little bit more about what Honor Flight is?
Honor Flight takes World War II, Korean, and Vietnam veterans to D.C. to see all the memorials. And what's interesting about that, it's a charter flight, so it's very easy to get through security. We're on the same plane with guardians. You can have a family member be your guardian. My son was my guardian, which was great. And we had a great day together. And we started out at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier and watched the change of the guard at 9 o'clock in the morning, which is pretty impressive if you've never seen it. It's very impressive. And then we go to, say, the Lincoln Memorial, perhaps, Air Force Memorial, and we have lunch at the Air Force Memorial, catered lunch brought to us at the Air Force Memorial. Then we go on down to the Vietnam Wall and the Korean Memorial. And the last one of the day is the World War II Memorial, which is the biggest. And we got there, 3 buses got there. There was a guy in a chair sitting there to greet everyone and shake our hands when we got off the bus. You couldn't imagine who that was. He's 93 years old, Senator Bob Dole. He had to shake everybody's hand to get off that bus. So it was an honor to see him there. And after that, we flew back to Dayton, got there at 10 o'clock. And it's all donations that pays for honor flight. And it's just a wonderful organization. The people who do it are saints in my mind.
So
they do a
how
great
did that
job.
make you feel to be a part of that experience?
It was wonderful. It was really great. And to see some of these veterans with tears run down their face, you know, who were in actual combat and lost their legs or whatever, who never experienced it coming home. I mean, my wife tears up when she watched it. And she's just there waiting on me to get home. She had tears in her eyes.
How did you readjust to civilian life?
Wasn't a problem. Not at all. I took a few weeks off work, went back to work at General Motors for 2 months. Had to have a vacation. Took a couple weeks off, went to Houston to see the Reds play 3 games at the Astrodome, which was brand new at the time. So yeah, it wasn't difficult.
So it was just like picking up where you left off?
Yeah, what was really tougher was being on the assembly line 8 hours a day. That was harder. Getting used
Harder
to
than
that.
being in the military, or?
Being stuck in one place.
Yeah.
You know, but it was okay. No problems at all readjusting.
Have you remained in contact with anyone that you served with?
Yes. A friend of mine lives I was in Taipei, Taiwan with his family in Taipei with him. And we go to his house. I go to his house for dinners or parties or whatever. And we go down to Fort Myers and see him every year or so, him and his wife, because I knew them both in Taipei.
Oh, that's great.
And that was in 67 through 69. And we've stayed in contact.
Oh, I'm sure it's much easier to keep in contact with them now with our new
Facebook,
technology.
yeah. With social media, it's much easier.
Oh, yeah. You said that you were a member of Honor Flight. Are you a member of any other veteran organizations?
I never have joined any. I tried to join the VFW when we got out of the service, and they said since I didn't have any combat in Vietnam, I wasn't eligible. So I never tried back. Even though I have a Vietnam service medal, they wouldn't let me. So that kind of ticked me off a little bit, so I never reapplied or any other one.
Have you ever thought about reapplying, or?
Not really. No.
So other than working at General Motors, what have you done since being out of the service?
Well, I worked for the UAW, United Auto Workers, at the Union Hall. The last 18 years I was at GM. Well, first of all, let me preface that and say, when I got out of the service, I started college at Wright State University in 1970.
Oh. What did you go for?
English degree. And I went 7 years at night, graduated in 1977, and I decided I wanted to use my education to help the United Auto Workers. And so I got a job with them representing injured workers on workers' compensation, which I had an office in the Union Hall. And I would go to industrial commission hearings when they got injured and the employer would contest the claim, contest the injury. I would go to the hearings and represent the injured worker at the hearing. Me and injured workers on one side of the table, GM attorney on the other side of the table, and the hearing officer at the head of the table. And I'd state their case and represent them in their injury case. And I love that. Love doing that. Did it for 18 years.
Wow.
So one of the attorneys who was working for the state as a bureau attorney at the time told me when I retired from General Motors he wanted to hire me when he got in private practice, which he's in private practice. I've been working for him for the last 18 years.
Wow.
So he hired me as soon as I retired.
It seems like you enjoy that quite a bit.
I do. I've cut my hours down to 3 days a week now, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Got a 4-day weekend every weekend, which I enjoy better.
Oh, yeah.
Gives me something to do and gives me time off.
And how did your wartime experience affect your life?
I don't think it affected it that much. If I'd been in actual combat and saw my friends killed, it probably would have affected me a lot more. But as far as I know, anybody I served with did not die from any combat-related deaths. You know, we had a job to do, and we did it, and we served our time there and went to another duty station. I could have easily been sent to Vietnam to a duty station there with my MOS, but I wasn't. You know, I was sent to northeastern Thailand.
Well, working military intelligence, that must have made you more aware of attention to detail and...
Oh yeah, it does. A lot.
That must have helped in your working for your union cases.
Mm-hmm. It does. And yeah, I really enjoyed both of them. I enjoyed working overseas, and I enjoyed the job at the union hall. But helping people always makes you feel good.
I think that's worth to live by.
Yep.
What are some life lessons you learned from your military service?
Never quit. You know, do a job and do it well, because somebody's life depends on it. And I'm sure that somebody's life depended on it in the field in Vietnam, in the jungle. They had to know where troops were moving to. So we took our job seriously.
How has your military experience impacted your feelings about war and the military in general?
I do know when I'm at a sporting event and they play the national anthem, if somebody wears their hat, I don't like it. If they don't put their hand over their heart, I'm not real fond of that either. I'm loyal to my country and to my flag and to the anthem. I think everybody should be. And I just watched a video yesterday from Virginia Tech basketball coach Buzz Williams. Have you seen it? Where his players were fidgeting around during the national anthem, and he had veterans come in to a practice and had chairs set down in front of the veterans, and he told his players, you haven't earned the right to sit in those chairs. These men here have earned that right because they give up their life to go fight, to serve in the service. You haven't done anything but shoot a basketball. So when they play the national anthem, you stand, you don't move, you don't sway, you don't fidget, you put your hand over your heart, and you give it your attention. You can sing it if you know the words. You haven't seen that video going around. It's great. Buzz Williams is my favorite coach.
Did you see where they just recently updated that to where veterans can now salute with their hats on? And
I did see that. I haven't started doing that yet. I still put my hand over my heart because that's how I feel. So, and we have season tickets at Wright State basketball. We've had for the past 35 years. So we go to a lot of basketball games out here. And so I do it every time. I put my hand over my heart because that's how I feel and how it should be.
Well, I have a couple more questions
Okay.
left for you. Is there anything you feel like we haven't discussed or should be added to this interview?
One duty station I didn't mention was between Thailand and Taiwan. When I left Thailand, I got shipped back to the States to Two Rock Ranch, California, which is north of San Francisco, around Petaluma. And our Army Security Agency bases had strange names. Two Rock Ranch, Ven Hill Farms. That's our Army bases for the Army Security Agency. And so I was there for 2 months, hated it. We played Army. We spit shined our boots, Brasso shined our belt buckles, our doorknobs, our knockers on our doors, everything to get me out of here. So I put in for Taipei, Taiwan, and left soon after.
Oh.
So I love the overseas duty better.
Oh yeah, garrison life just has a whole different appeal to it.
No comparison.
Yeah. And then this is the last question. What message would you like to leave for future generations who will view this interview?
Serve your country. If duty calls, do it. You won't be sorry. I was never sorry for going to the Army. I've never regretted it. And I would tell anybody that. And you probably feel the same way.
This concludes our interview. Thank you so much for taking the time to do the interview, and thank you for your service.
Thank you very much.